How come you have one of them?
Good afternoon, everyone. Let's call the Finance Committee meeting to order. First item on our agenda is public comment. Is there anyone from the public that wishes to make a comment to the Finance Committee? All right. I want to alert the committee and the council how we're going to do this. This first section of this evening is going to be all Finance Committee members and City Council members will have the opportunity to participate in this. It's been advertised as such. And then when we're done with the community groups, we're going to bring it back to just the Finance Committee for a few items that the Finance Committee is going to have to discuss. And we're going to make one change in the order that the community groups will be presenting to us, and we're going to switch the Willmar Area Multicultural Business Center and the West Central Integration Collaborative. They're going to switch places. So with that, unless there's questions from the committee or the council, we'll move into the community groups, and we'll start with the Design Center, and we have John Christensen.
Good evening. I'm John Christensen. I'm treasurer of the Willmar Design Center, and I'm tasked with presenting the annual budget to the Willmar Finance Committee and City Council. I want to thank you for the opportunity to be here, and I'm excited about the opportunities for Willmar ahead. The mission of the Willmar Design Center is to renew the heart of the city. The goal of the Willmar Design Center is to simply make Willmar, to work as a city partner with the City Council to simply make Willmar a better place to work and live. And so with that, I'm presenting the 2014 budget request from the City of Willmar. And I think everybody should have a handout. And I guess the first page that is reflected on that is one, there was a memo that was addressed to City Administrator Charlene Stevens that had some explanation, and then there is a budget request that is the total budget request, and I think it was maybe the second to the last page, which shows the operating budget for the City of Willmar, and I'd maybe like to just talk off of that for just a moment. And it should be just the one that is the operating budget for the City of Willmar that reflects what's being requested. And this was put together at the request of the City Administration so that the items that are reflected from the funds that the City of Willmar provide to the Design Center are separated out so that they can be identified for the City Council and City Administration. The budget request that is being requested for 2014 is $58,500. Last year, the Design Center, Willmar Design Center, received $32,000 of funding from the City of Willmar. And I just want to explain what the differences are and the request. And actually, the request from the Design Center is exactly the same as 2013 from the City of Willmar, with two exceptions. And I apologize for that. The request is the same as it was for 2013 at $32,000, with two exceptions. And one of the exceptions is that the Design Center put into its budget request is the $25,000 for project services from Treeline Design Consultants, which is the first stages of working on the Willmar downtown plan that was adopted by the City Council. And in the memo, it was outlined the different phases that are part of that request. It's $25,000. It was the first three items to look at related to advancing the downtown plan of the Glacial Lakes Trail of $3,500, the Becker Avenue implementation of $3,500, Selvig Park schematic design of $18,000. And The reason that this is in the budget is that, one, it is to, to highlight, one, the Design Center has a goal of advancing the Wilmer plan, the downtown plan, and, but that is something that if the council decides that they'd like to handle that on those funding requests on their own, that is fine. If they want the Design Center to advance it, that's fine. It's really at council's wish, but we really are stressing the point of if we're going to advance the plan, these are some of the first items that would need to be pursued. And so that would not need to be included in the Design Center budget, but the Design Center would certainly administer that if that's something that was desired. The second change from the 2013 request is related to requesting $1,500 to send one person to the Main Street National Conference. The Design Center has sent several people in the past and has worked to doing that, but found that to be very beneficial as far as ideas that are expressed at these national conferences for Main Street cities. It's really the cities that are leading, making changes, that are leading the industry, that are providing ideas, and the Design Center board felt that it was important that Wilmer be represented at that conference as well. And so the total of those is $58,500 is the total request. And it's really the $32,000 budget that's the same request as a year ago with those two modifications. And I guess at that point, I would certainly entertain questions if there are any that I will try to answer.
All right, questions from the council or the finance committee? Rick?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks for coming, John. On Sevig Park, that's on leased land, isn't it?
Yeah, no, you know what, I'm not really, I really don't know the answer to that. And I guess the details of advancing the Wilmer plan portion of that, I really don't feel qualified to answer as far as some of the improvements that are part of that.
I think Northwestern Bell owns it.
Okay.
And Mrs. Sevig and her family, when she passed away, donated money for the existing park.
Okay.
I was just wondering, can we just go in there and rip it up and put all new without asking them?
Again, I'm probably not qualified to answer that question related to if that is part of it. The thing is, the reason it was put in here, it was part of the Wilmer downtown plan. And this was one of the initial steps of that. And we could certainly get back to you as far as that'd be probably a question for the urban designer.
I'm wondering if staff can help us out here.
I believe Councilmember Fagerly is correct that there's a lease for the land, and then there was a trust set aside, and I think that trust has, according to the finance director, about $30,000 in it that can be used to maintain that. I'd have to go back to the actual full agreements, at least to determine how much we can do to change that or renovate that park.
And the parking lot, that's still owned?
The parking lot is not owned by this, is still owned by by a private property owner.
Okay, so we'd have to get permission to do
Correct,
something there, too.
or acquire that land in some fashion or have permission to do something, yes.
Okay, thank you.
You know,
I think what's being proposed here is probably just a schematic, design, but yeah, ultimately you'd have to have control of the land to be able to implement anything.
Right. So we should have control first before we spend money on a design.
I would think we, or at least an understanding that was coming, yeah. You know, it just kind of makes me wonder if we'd be better off, as Mr. Christensen suggested, that maybe those three items come out of the Design Center budget and become a city expenditure. That we could, we would have staff that could research all of that. I think it can go either way, and I think you've indicated that you're okay with it either way. And it might be better for our city staff to be working on, but we can discuss that at another time. Do we have more questions on on this from either side here?
Just as a note, and I hope I included the proposal from urban designer Adam Arvidsson with that, and behind that, he describes what is being done, but this doesn't necessarily answer your question.
This is a time, now this is what I'm hoping, folks, is that tonight we get all of our questions answered. We're not going to take action necessarily this afternoon, but, you know, if there are questions, I'm really hoping that we can get all of the questions answered, so when we come to make the decisions on these funding requests, we'll be fully informed. So that said, questions? Go ahead, Steve.
Thanks, Dennis. With the proposed budget from the mayor, with all due respect, I don't think cutting the budget completely is appropriate. I was just informed, I asked Steve Okens to send me over a copy of the quiet zone evaluation on the railroad crossings for downtown. And that I haven't read before, but it was sent out December 17th, 2007. And I believe that was one of our priorities that we had in our retreats, is that we wanted to have a better lifestyle for our community by having quiet zones throughout the neighborhood. And I just received another letter from a constituent today by Senex who complains about it. And we're taking care of those systematically. But it seems to me that if we're going to really help improve the downtown, which is the bottom line here, we've been spending the money on the reports and the evaluations and the systematic designs, and there's no lack of knowledge or enthusiasm from this group to have improvements made downtown. They're very, very good at that. But I'm looking back at our priorities, and I don't see anything in the 2014 budget for quiet zones. And it seems to me that we have to take care of what we have right now and slowly implement the plan for the downtown in a systematic way. Right now, we have, what, $200,000 into the downtown gateways in the proposed budget right now. We're jumping ahead of what we had on an evaluation on the railroad designs back in 2007, and we don't have anything in the budget for that. And that was a priority back then. I think it still is a priority of the council now to move forward with that. But I am under the belief that despite all the work that the Design Center does downtown and all the volunteers put in their time, there's some basic things that need to be done to clean up or change the perception of the downtown. And I have talked to a few people, and I believe some of the priorities, and if I'm against the wishes of the Design Center, so be it. But my thought is to clean up the sidewalks in downtown and repair all the broken and cracked concrete we have and rejuvenate it so it looks like a livable and nice place to walk on. And then concentrate on doing some videos on Rack 8. I talked to Rudy Vigil about doing a short segment of all the businesses downtown to promote the downtown and see what we have. We have a very vibrant downtown with a lot of different interests. So rather than all the money that the Design Center is budgeting, I think as a council, ultimately the Finance Committee is going to be making the recommendations, but I don't believe in cutting the budget completely like that. I'd much rather see our budget go back to our priorities that we established back in 2007, because I agree with them. And I have more complaints about the train noise than we do of the downtown.
That's a good point. And I failed to, when we started out the meeting, to say that there was no money appropriated or budgeted in the mayor's proposed budget for the Design Center. In fact, there's none in any of the organizations that will be talking to us now. With regard to your idea for Rack 8, you know, that might be something that we would have to appropriate additional money for labor expense to get that done. I'm sure we have the expertise and the ability to do that, but we should talk about if we want to propose putting some additional funds in there, and we can do that a little bit later.
Just one comment, if I could, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
I've talked to Rudy Vigil on that particular issue, and there are funds in the RAC 8 budget that could be appropriated, and also with the Convention and Visitors Bureau Fund for promotion of
Okay.
the community. So we might not have to add anything to the
Right.
budget, but
Then we won't worry about that. I think the idea makes sense. Ron, you had a question?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I notice in the request, on, I think it says page 1, it's actually the 4th page, we've got a history from 2011 to 2014 of city funding and request for 2014. When was the design center started, and what was its goal at that time? I mean, how much money have we given to them prior to 2011? I mean, that's all I have is 11 to 14 here. What was their mission? What was the city's goal? Was it just to keep funding their request year after year after year, or is there a lot of times people ask for funding, we'll say, well, for 5 years, we'll give you $20,000 a year, $30,000 until it's finished. But is this something that's going to be ongoing? What was the mission when we first said we're going to give money to the design center? And did we give it the very first year you were in operation?
Do you know the history?
I apologize, I won't be able to cite the exact year, and I think it was either 9 or 10 years that the design center.
2005 when we were funded in 2007 by the state.
Okay, that's the answer. 2005, and we were funded in 2007 by the city. The initial funding was $50,000 by the city that ran. Now, a couple items related to the design center. One of the essential functions that the city funding does for the design center is to allow for a part-time staff person. The funding on that staff person hasn't changed in over 5 years now as far as the level of funding that takes place. And the benefit that is, it's very difficult for a total volunteer organization to have continuity and sustainability for maintaining a staff person and to work as far as the having a base to work from. It's very difficult. The other part related to the funding, many things that are part of the design center budget and that have been in part of the design center budget in the past that have been funded from the city are, really, as an example, part of the design center budget in past years has been furniture for downtown. And that's fine to run it through the design center budget, but if the city wanted to have it outside the budget and have a lower budget, that's fine as well. We really look as being implementing what the city is trying to grow forward. The goal has always been, or the mission has always been to renew the heart of the city. The goal has been to make it a better place to live and work. When we look at and so, what budget it comes from isn't important. The important thing that the Design Center has been focusing on is to help and be a partner in assisting the Willmar Downtown Plan that's been adopted by the council. And just as an example, the Design Center has 19 total elements, and the Design Center is an element champion of 10 of those. Of the downtown plan again. We're an implementation partner of 5 of the elements of the downtown plan and a primary funding source of 3 of the elements. And so the strategic or the executive board went back with the design center to focus. We totally focused on the Willmar downtown plan. How can we help implement what council has adopted?
Okay. Go ahead, Ron.
If I may respond, thank you, Mr. Chair. Your goal is a worthy one, to renew the heart of the downtown. When will we know that it's renewed? I mean, is this going to be, we have X amount of benches, or is it ongoing, John? I mean, is this thing going to go on until 2040? I mean, there has to be a point in time where you say, well, we succeeded. Okay, we've met our goal. Now let's keep it on an even plane here. Everybody wants downtown to be a better place. There's no doubt about it. But what if we got a request from the First Street merchants? Everybody Trot Avenue and South. I mean, are we going to, and they want $30,000 a year. How long are we going to do this? I mean, there's got to be a point, And it's like I said, it's a worthy cause, and I know you have to have somebody on staff to keep this thing going, but I see you have other revenue coming in from fundraisers, stakeholders, and shouldn't that support the person in charge? I just don't know how long the city should keep giving and giving and giving. I mean,
I guess I would look at the point that the city wants to stop improving downtown would be the time you'd want to stop funding for, or you'd want to stop looking at new ways to improve. I mean, to me, when is the point that it's done? Hopefully, we never want to stop improving our downtown. You know, you can say that, you know, and every year, hopefully downtown is a little bit better place. Hopefully, the Wilmer and the whole community is a little bit better place every year.
on the other hand, you know, the city is doing its part in maintaining downtown. We own the sidewalks, the lights, the streets, and from looking at down there, I mean, they're in excellent shape. Mr. Rahman here suggested we should be cleaning up the sidewalks, making it basically a cleaner, better place to be, but we're doing our part. Now the people downtown that own the property, you know, they need to do their part also. I don't think that the city's failing to, or when we don't donate to the design center doesn't mean that we don't want downtown improved anymore. It's just when the taxpayers out in my part of the town, you know, not many of them come downtown, and you're using some of their money. Same with the north side, east side, and west or south. They want a vibrant downtown too, but you know, they're not. You're using their tax dollars for this, and then they may be spending their time at the mall.
I apologize.
No problem.
I thought I had it off.
It happens often, John.
No, and I guess the only question I would ask is why are the taxpayers on your side of town not coming downtown?
Well,
Why would they not come downtown?
And my question is, who are you trying to get downtown? There's an older generation in Wilmer, there's a middle generation from probably 35 to 55, and then we have the younger generation, the up and coming people. And a woman made a comment to me a couple weeks ago, and it's just stuck in my brain. She says, we were talking about downtown, and she says, the younger generation doesn't do downtown. They're our future downtown goers, so what are we doing to attract them?
Well, I guess part of the response would be one of the ways of doing that is we can have, and we obviously appreciate the efforts that the city council and the city does in relation to keeping the infrastructure, sidewalks, the lights, everything in good shape. And I think that that's been commendable and that's been good. But part of it is you have to bring, like you said, neighbors in your side of town, you have to have a reason for them to come downtown. Now, the Design Center, just through some of the events that it promotes, some of the festivals that it promotes, ends up with between 14,000 to 15,000 people downtown that it brings each year. So, I mean, those are some things that are, one, you have to have people come downtown again to feel that, you know what, it's not scary, it's not, that it is safe, that it's not dangerous, and participate in that. The part of I don't know, and I don't have an answer for you at when is the city done supporting downtown, or when are you done? I guess we look at being a partner with the city. We're taking our total lead, our total focus has been on implementing the city plan, the city downtown plan that's been adopted by the council. And so we're looking at, that's our goal.
And if I can just follow up on that, just with a couple points. I think we have asked the Design Center to help us on the implementation of a downtown plan that we were all part of. You know, there were community meetings and there was everything, and we adopted a downtown plan, and we've asked you to partner with us on that. So we do have some obligation. Another thing that I think we sometimes forget is the return that we get on our investment. And I don't remember the exact number of dollars in grants and funds that we have gotten, but I think it's in the millions, if I'm not mistaken. Do you happen to know that number?
Yeah, I do, and I have a copy here of the council would like, but it's over $2 million that the Design Center has influenced as far as grants, funding, that ended up, for the city of Wilmer, much of it downtown. And that's related to funding related to Becker Avenue, a lot of the funding for improvement of the downtown businesses. That is a cooperation where it's a partial funding of some of the improvements to downtown Wilmer.
Okay. I'm going to go back. Bruce, you had a question.
Thank you, Dennis. I guess just a couple comments, that the downtown, it is important to us. Downtowns are important to any community. It's usually the center of activities. You have Becker Market down there, Hallidazzle, a lot of Wilmer Fest activities take place downtown. And we've partnered with the Design Center on a number of projects and various things with the downtown plan. I just want to reiterate, downtowns are special places. They need to be, community needs to have a vibrant downtown, a downtown that is, that people go to, and it's one of those important quality of life issues that we have a downtown where, and I think our downtown is, a lot of people go there, and if you're not, you're missing it. There's a lot of activities down there that take place. Just that it's important that we support our downtown and keep it vibrant.
Audrey, and then we'll come back to Rick.
Two questions. The council adopted the 2011 downtown plan. The three items that are listed in here, the city plan that's listed under expenses, the Glacial Lake State Trail, Becker Avenue implementation, and Selvig Park, isn't that not coming out of that downtown plan? Some of those items being carried forward, or?
Yes, those are all elements that they were all included as part of the 2011 downtown plan.
Okay, so they're simply following through with something that was,
I can't tell you off the top of my head what priority they are, but the extending the trail, ultimately connecting to Selvig Park as a trailhead are part of those.
Okay, and the grant that we received to do the trail, this would be basically looking at a place to start to, for the funds that are being done to enhance that trail right now, right? I mean, we're in the process of doing some.
Yes, we've been
We're
working on
talking about
that.
the same
We have
thing,
been
right?
working on that trail.
Okay.
Currently, and have a grant to do that and to extend that trail over the First Street Bridge.
And my second part of the question, I believe Mr. Arvidsson just completed a contract for the city. Was that through the city or through the design center?
The contract for the Gateway Designs was through the city.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Rick?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Refreshing my memory, from back in the 90s and 2000s, we had a city staff person doing the work that the design center is doing. And it was getting to be too much, and we were looking at hiring another person. And it was cheaper to contract the design center to do that than have a city employee. So I think we're getting our money's worth from the design center.
I really want to make sure everybody's had a chance to ask any and all questions or make comments.
Thank you,
Councilor Everett.
Chair Anderson. I have a question, Mr. Christensen. You've got a Schedule B in here, be on page 4 of the paperwork you submitted. I see there's an administration assist, and then looking at the opposite, or the next page, I don't see that listed. I guess I'm wondering what.
Well, and if you would, there is administrative assistant funding that the Design Center has in its budget. The next page, which reflects the operating budget from the City of Wilmer, that just identifies the funding request from the City of Wilmer. And partly this schedule's here so administrative staff can identify what's being requested and that it was in the budget. if you go one page further back, you'll look at the total, I'm sorry, forward. You will see the total design center budget, and that's where the administrative assistant services would be included. But that really, we're not, I guess, we're not considering that as part of the request from the city. That's part of the funding that's covered by, that $8,000 is covered by downtown stakeholders, which are the downtown businesses and others that are participating in the fundraising and other fundraising efforts of the design center.
Okay, that's covered by other funding in other words.
Yes, that's
that you
correct.
receive. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Can I make just a point of clarification?
Absolutely.
Councilmember Nelson had brought up the items from the Wilmer downtown plan, and the reason those were included is it was the, we asked the urban planner, what are the next 3 steps, or the next 3 things that would be the most, the logical and what priority? And those are his items of priority as far as that can be done. It can be done logically in the next priority. And that's so these didn't come from us, they came from the urban planner.
Okay, thank you.
Ron?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Do we still have an organization called, is it Main Street Wilmer, or Wilmer Main Street? Is that still an organization too? And are they, I see they haven't requested any funds, but do you work with them at all?
Yes.
If they're in
there's-
existence, I mean,
There's collaboration between the 2 organizations. There's members of Main Street of Wilmer, which are members of the Design Center. And I don't want to speak for Main Street Wilmer just because I'm not that familiar with that organization, but it really, I think they focus on the retail promotion for downtown Wilmer.
so they have a different goal than,
Yeah, ultimately they do, but there's members that are on both sides. And that's not to be confused with Main Street, Minnesota. Okay, that's very confusing with the names of it, but that's an accreditation organization that is, works with communities around the state
okay.
that the Design Center is part of.
Thank you, John, and thank you for your presentation. One other suggestion or idea would be, we have all these funds with money sitting in the local option sales tax being one of them, and there's other funds that have money in them. And I know the mayor was going to use a lot of money that was saved toward our street program, which is in need of money. Why couldn't we fund it using one of those, taking money from one of those funds?
I think that's something we can look at. I don't see how the example of local option sales tax would fit, because that was, 4 specific identified projects that we asked the voters to authorize that, and we have some money in there. But we can certainly ask staff to look at and see if they can have any recommendations for funding out of some of our reserves or the earnings. Well, there's not many earnings on the reserves right now, but
Or vice
we'll have them look at maybe some alternate funding sources, if that's what you're asking, I think.
Yes, and from what I understand, even the local option sales tax, the balance of it in there can be spent by the council. I mean, it was for these 4 specific items, but are we going to wait 10 years to, keep pumping money into them, or am I right on that, finance?
I'm not, I thought that we had to try to stay in the same vein, but
The council legally can spend it on anything afterwards. Past councils have kind of dedicated for that purpose, and it is proposed in 2014 to spend the rest of it on the development of the industrial park in the capital improvement program.
Okay.
But anyway, the idea of looking at some alternate funding sources is fine. And I'll ask staff to look into that for us. All right, anything? Okay, Audrey?
How important is it for you, for other funding, to have the support of the city of Wilmer when you go out for other funding that you have?
Well, it's very important. One is that does look at providing the base as far as being able to continue on the mission year after year. But also it is a credibility factor as far as applying for other grants and other funding. Currently in 2013, the Design Center has secured $55,000 of grants and has another $60,000 of grants pending. We don't have those, but they have been applied for and are looking to, hopefully looking for additional funding. The concept is that the City of Willmar funding is leveraged, and that funding gives us the base that we can produce and generate additional funding for the city.
Okay,
One more.
one more, sure.
If I read somewhere, are you receiving an award? Are you guys receiving an award that you're going to be getting soon?
I'm not receiving an award, but maybe, what is the award for?
The award is for being accredited by Minnesota Main Street, which means that.
Excuse me, Bev, if we're going to have you come up and talk at the mic, because we are recording this.
They keep me to the books, and so Bev will have to answer this one.
Thanks, John. We are receiving an award at the State Preservation Conference on Friday, September 29th, because Willmar is now an accredited city under Minnesota Main Street. And that means that we have adhered to the principles of Minnesota Main Street, and there are 4. One of those is economic development, creating events downtown, historic preservation, and publicity, and making Willmar look as good as we know it is. And I have to say, when I go out of town and when the group goes out of town, that's when we hear how great it is here, and we feel rewarded for the work that we do. When we started in 2005, and St. Paul was our mentor, they told us it would take us 20 years. I know that question came up tonight. We're at 8. And we think we've gotten our second deed grant, so that's about $2 million right there. And then John told you about the funds that have come in. So we're going to be very pleased to accept that award.
Good, congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, last call for questions. Yes, sir, Steve.
One last thing. Regarding the downtown, this isn't necessarily the design center's function, but another expense that we've been neglecting is the expense to replace the lighting or improve the lighting for the downtown during the holiday season, Christmas season, and the holidays parade. I don't know, I have not seen that in the budget also.
There was a request put in, but it wasn't funded.
Yes, yeah. And I know that they're in need of repair too. Again, I want to reiterate, let's maintain what we have now
Okay.
at least in the budget. Thanks.
All right. I think we're done.
Thank you, I appreciate your time.
Thanks, John. We really appreciate all you do. Okay, now we're gonna switch up here, and we're gonna go to the West Central Integration Collaborative. That would be Charlie Lightsey.
Good evening. Can you hear me? Mm-hmm. Okay. Mayor Yanish and city council members, city staff, and community residents. My name is Charlie Lightsey, and I am the director of the West Central Integration Collaborative. We are housed at the WEAC building, otherwise known as the Willmar Education and Arts Center, 611 5th Street Southwest. We have been in existence since 2002, and our work involves promoting cultural integration for all community members in the schools and the community at large through the various projects that we do here in town. What I gave you is a piece of paper with our timeline, and it kind of explains how this started, and all this means the West Central Integration Collaborative. In 2002, 2003, we started with focusing on education, and at that time it was Willmar, ACGC, Newland, and Spicer. It was only the 3 school districts. And I will not talk too much about education piece, but I do want you to understand how it differs from the work that we do for the city. I believe sometimes that gets a little confusing and misunderstood. So at that time, we had a mandate from the Department of Education to start the West Central Integration Collaborative with the other 2 school districts, and then presently we are at 8 school districts, and as you can see, quite a few towns that we serve. So back then, when we started, I know it says 21% minority student population, but I believe it was probably like 19%. That was just in Wilmer alone. And now, presently, we are at about 37% minority student population in the Wilmer schools. And so what do we do with, in the schools, is we have plans that increase student interracial contact. Some of our most popular, I would say, and vivid projects are the foreign language in the elementary schools. We have Spanish right now in the middle school, and it's nice because it goes all the way through high school. And then the other one is our cultural liaisons. We have cultural liaisons and school success coordinators in every school building here in Wilmer. And then, of course, some of our other member districts also have some of those components, not all. Now, to talk about integration revenue, and I did put on here that that is solely to be used for students in the school system. So when you see that big amount, that million and something that we get, that is strictly for that, for those projects. And as you saw the budget, a lot of it has to do with salaries and benefits. That's where it mostly goes in programs. So to get away from that, so what do we do for the city? This started with the Vision 2020 process. We, back then, there was a survey that was conducted by Campbell's, and no surprise to us, I think there was another survey recently that was done by the city, where it shows that, cultural understanding, we're low on that. We score pretty low. We just don't understand where we're coming from. And that would mean the minority populations and the populations, our larger mainstream population. At that time, back in 2003, before we applied to Blandin for this cultural liaison project, we had the idea of a welcome center. But I believe at that time, there was some heavy fundraising going on for the YMCA. So, I mean, there was just no way that we stood a chance at really opening a center, and it required a lot of time. So what we did then was we went to Blandin and we said, what if the city and us, what if we partner to establish this cultural liaison project where we would help the city serve its most ethnically diverse population. And it was great. Blandin gave us $75,000 to start the very first time, with the agreement that this would continue as long as our ethnic population was there, the needs were there. And what is happening today? Well, just within the last year, we have had quite an increase in our refugee population. So it hasn't gone down. So when we talk about the need, it's still there. It keeps going up. We have a large Somali population, East African. Now we got some Burmese in town. Who knows what the next group is going to be? Looks like the Latino population has stayed about the same, which is around 5,000 people, and which is interesting. And the others are growing. So what do you get when you connect with us or when you partner with us? Well, we help you get these new immigrants to the city services. So if they come in and you say, I have a question about my utility bill, I mean, you have to figure in, these people don't take 5 minutes. They take a good hour or more to explain to them how utility services work here. Some have never had running water or a stove or anything like that. So you can imagine what it must be like. I don't know if you've ever been to a foreign country, but it's no fun when you can't speak the language. And pretty scary. Interpretation, we give you those interpretation language services at a below market rate. These are essential to communicating with our newcomers and our new immigrants. You get it around $30 per hour, and the going rate in the community with any other agency to start is $50. And that's if you can get somebody right away, right there and then when you need one. The other beauty about us is that we de-escalate conflicts or some radical kind of thinking. Sometimes people get upset, and the minority community thinks that the white community is out to get them, or they don't understand them, and we must protest or do something like that. We usually, or I guess I would say I'm the calm one, and I usually say, now, let's think about this. How can we deal with this? The other thing is cultural training for city staff. That has happened in the past. It would be nice if it would happen again. I do a lot for community organizations, for school staff, and actually for private entities, for a lot of businesses in town. We actually do quite a bit of that. Have had contact with your police and fire departments in the recruitment of minority applicants, and I say applicants, not just to go and recruit minority people to recruit them, but really because they believe that it is important to diversify their workforce. It's better when you have somebody that knows you, that understands you, where you're coming from, that's possibly going to arrest you or put you in jail. The other one that we haven't had since 2009 is the Celebration of Cultures. And of course, due to some decrease in funding, it takes quite a bit of money to do that. But we are thinking of doing something similar to that coming up again. Parks and Recreation, we work with them closely to offer different cultural activities. Let me tell you, I've been here since 1974, so you guys might figure out my age pretty soon. And a lot of things have happened since 1974. It has changed a lot. We didn't have a soccer program. Our soccer program is huge now. And we have a great partnership with Jenny Old Turkey Store. I mean, they provided a wonderful soccer field. Our kids are busy, and also the adult leagues. I think it's wonderful for this community. We're all part of that. And then, of course, if we get a directive from Charlene or you, Mayor, increase the participation of minority folks and commissions and committees, we try to help you. Currently, I'm on the Waste Task Force. Not so fun, but I've enjoyed a lot. I've learned a lot about garbage. And I think it's great. I do. I tell everybody I see, did you know this? And a lot of people don't know. I didn't even know. But anyway, so it's wonderful. Ron, I'm sure you're going to ask, well, how long should we keep funding you and funding you? Well, if you can get us a cultural community welcome center, I think that would be great. I'm all for self-sustainability. If I can get it going, get it running, I don't ever have to come back here and ask for money. But it's not that I'm asking for money as it is, shouldn't this be a policy of yours? Shouldn't the city have a cultural competency plan in place? Look at where we're at. We're almost half of the population. If we're 19,000, we're at least 9,000 minority people. And that's where we're at. I believe we provide a great service. I know that you've had questions about the budget. You're not paying just for my salary, because I've heard that in the past, that you're paying too much. Well, you're not. You're also getting a Somali person. You're also getting somebody that speaks Burmese. You're also getting somebody that strictly does translations. And believe me, those are boring to me. But we do them. I think it's essential for people to educate all community members. And that's what you get. And I think it says a lot from you that you're supporting this. With that, I'll take any questions. The big one, and that's why I put Robert after me, was that we did help establish the Willmar Area Multicultural Business Center to be their own entity, because we felt that a lot of minority people are seen as deficient in something, and we're not. We bring lots of good stuff to this community. We have lots of assets, and we want you to know about that, and we help people start new businesses. And he'll talk more about that and all the great work, and he has wonderful data. And so do we, if you need to look at it, but it's a lot. So with that.
Okay, thanks, Charlie. Again, I should maybe preface this. Their request is for $21,000, and we have zero in the budget. So one of the things that I think sometimes gets lost, and I'm not really aware of, is the fact that you help all of these people understand bills, tax statements, all that sort of thing. How do they find out about you, and where do they go?
Well, it's interesting. A lot of city staff will just right away call, which is great. I think people know what I do. I know people everywhere. I've been here since 1974, and they know what we stand for. I think it speaks loud.
I think it's also printed on some of our materials that are sent
Yes,
out. So
your
assessment hearings and things, there's a message, there. It's in, I believe, Spanish and Somali, that if you don't understand this, that you can take, if you don't understand this information, you may take it to the collaborative, and someone will be able to help assist you, because we don't have those individuals on staff.
Okay, that was an unknown to me. Questions from the committee? Rick, go ahead.
Thanks, Charlie, for coming.
Thank you.
We had a situation like a month ago on Center Point Mall. What did you do in that situation? Because they came here.
Yes, they did. I was, unfortunately, the only time I take vacation. I hardly ever do, believe it or not. It's hard on me to take vacation and come back. I wouldn't stay where I usually go. But I was in South Dakota. I did get lots of phone calls. But Robert's going to talk about that. I did help. There are some avenues for those folks. There is some agencies that can help them that are out of the Twin Cities. And I did provide that information to them. Why? Because we already have that connection with our Somali, our East African staff on hand. And some of them are involved with the mosque also. So, but Robert's going to talk more about that, because him and Jeff are the consultant that works with him. They have done work with them on that.
All right, thanks.
Audrey?
My question is more, if we do not fund this, what will we do at the city when people present and can't speak English?
Well, we would struggle to communicate with them. I mean, I do speak Spanish, but I don't use it on a daily basis anymore. So depending on how technical it is, I may be able to assist them, and if I'm there, I certainly would make every effort to do so. In terms of others, I mean, we would use, Language Line, or try to use other interpretive services, or hopefully, or see if they brought somebody with them that can do that for them.
Who would be responsible to pay the bill for an interpreter if someone was needed to be hired? Would we still be responsible for that?
Typically, yes. I mean, when the police need an interpreter, they're using interpretive services and they're paying for that bill, and that's within the police department's budget. And then if we are, going to translate materials, we would still have to go out and have that done and pay for that.
Okay.
If there was a document that we wanted translated or something, or a notice.
I'd like to follow up on that, if I may. And I'll ask you, all of the notices, the official notices, are put out in 3 languages, is that correct?
I'm not sure that we put them out in 3 languages. I know that a great many of our materials that we send out include at the bottom a statement roughly along these lines, that if you do not understand this material, that you can take it to the West Central Collaborative. And I think that's in English, in Spanish and in Somali.
Somali, right. But now in the Waste Task Force, that document is horrendous, and we are doing that. We are translating that one in Spanish only. We haven't decided in Somali. We're getting some feedback from our own staff first, then we'll see if we pursue it. Again, it saves you money, because I'm not going to direct my staff to translate or to interpret everything. You can't possibly do that. However, this one's very important.
And I think some of our materials we have, kind of case by case on departments,
Right.
maybe things they think are going to be frequently used or trying to address that population, we'll get it translated, but not, again, every single document.
Other questions?
Just-
Tim?
Yes, thank you. Ms. Lightsey,
Yes.
if I understood you correctly, the funding you get from the state of Minnesota goes entirely for the schools, for the work you do in the schools?
That's correct.
Well, I guess I'd be curious what other donations you get besides what the city's given you in the past. It would appear that you need more than just the 21,000, I would assume. But, I mean, I don't know that. Do you get donations from other sources also?
Leslie, not lately, right? No,
None?
none.
Ron?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Charlie, for coming here. I see that you said we started in 02, 03.
yep.
We made an initial investment, I forget what it was, and it was like $60,000 or
Right.
something like that. And I don't know how many employees you had then. That was about 10 years ago. I see we've grown to 27 employees, and I noticed that this revenue from other sources is lacking. Isn't it the state and the federal government, or is it just the state?
State.
State government. And I read in the newspaper the other day that your organization is receiving an extra, was it $80,000 or $180,000? It was a chunk.
Come up here.
It was a rather large amount that they said because of your services have grown, or the community has grown around here, a non-white community, or, so you got this extra money
For student enrollment, minority student enrollment.
for school,
Yep.
okay? Could you tell us the amount, what the amount was?
It was $180,000, and that is additional integration dollars, so that would be strictly K through 12 programming dollars.
Okay. It seems to me that if the money that the state has given you is strictly for schooling, where are we being represented? Because that's our money too. You know, that money, I don't know how they can say it's only directed at the school, then that's where your efforts should be. I brought up, well, every time you've been here, the fact that, you know, we're being taxed twice for the same services. The city of Wilmer, the people, we pay tax to Wilmer gives you money, we pay tax to the state gives you money. And I don't know, where's the city represented in that? Because it's state money, it should be available for our services also. Technology, and on another note, technology has really taken off, and the day of the interpreter sometime, one of these days is going to be gone because of one of these things. Like robots taking over manual labor. We've got technology that's going to, you'll be able to speak into, and it'll come out in another language. I believe it's available today, but somewhere down the road that's going to be available. Back to the number of employees, where do you see this going next year? I mean, what's the maximum? You got 27 employees today, is it going to be 30 next year? Where's the need to grow?
Could be.
It depends upon the needs. And, you know, the integration money it's K through 12. It's like any grant or any program. You designate dollars for a certain program, those dollars have to be used for that program. That's the same with integration funding. It's designated for a certain program, so we have to make sure that we're following the guidelines of that program and using the funds the way they're supposed to be used.
But I would say we did hire more cultural liaison school success because of the high need at some of our buildings, school buildings. We have people that come here, students that come here with no education whatsoever, ever. And they're already 15, 16 years old. So yes, we are going to hire more people. We have to.
I understand that, and I applaud you, you know,
Right.
your organization for their efforts. I mean, I'm here to suggest other ways, or I'm speaking for my taxpayers in Ward 2 also. It's
Well, I have some over there,
$21,000.
too.
Noble efforts, but as you integrate these citizens into the community, I'm assuming they're learning English.
Yes.
So is there going to be more to integrate or less because they're learning English? The majority are learning English. It's, again, I know your goal is to help mostly the students, but this $21,000, is that strictly for services to the city?
That's right.
So we only, do we use any less of that than for interpretive services, or
You probably use more than that.
where does that money come from?
It's because we believe in the work and understand that it has to be done. So we have, our staff are volunteering their time to do this work because they believe that it's important.
That's right.
Okay, so then if we don't we don't give you the request of $21,000, then the services will continue.
Not necessarily, because staff are getting to the point where they're getting overworked. And just can't do as much as they used to do anymore. So by being able to say, you can get at least some type of, put in some hours, get reimbursed for those hours, then they'll do it. But we're starting to run into struggles of having people doing that time just because the demand is so high and their time is getting to be so little.
Okay, so these services are being provided to the city of Wilmer, and the city of Wilmer is not the only one that you work with. You must work with Raymond and Atwater and New London Spicer and some of these other cities in the county. How much are they giving to your organization?
We do not do the same work in those cities that we do in Wilmer. Those are strictly K through 12 programs. We work strictly in the school, in those districts.
So if they need an interpreter, they don't get one?
If we are able to provide one, because I remember a call from Painesville, yes, they will
We would bill
they
them
will
for
pay.
that, though.
Yep. I
But we
will-
don't have a contract with them or anything like that because it's not
Right.
that much, or they would use additional staff that they would have in their building and contract with them within their city.
So we're the only city donating money,
Why are you
Filling
the
your
only
request.
city, Ron? Why? What did I say?
How about the school districts that you represent? Are they
But
part of
wait a
your-
minute, let's talk about the $21,000. We're talking $21,000. The money that, from the education department or wherever it is, that's, however they divvy it up, that's not our call.
No.
But
Our
it's our-
discussion is the $21,000. Are we getting the services that we should get for the $21,000?
Thank you.
We roughly averaged out to come up with about $31,000 plus for the amount of time that our staff and stuff provides to the city.
Okay. Further we done?
Just a comment of the, I forget the total budget you have on here, I didn't find it, but we're a really small percentage of it, really, 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 really small.
And 21,000 is a really, really, really small percentage of the city budget.
I'm just confused because we're asking them to provide a service for the city of Wilmer. I don't understand why we're comparing it to the services that they're providing for the school. It's a benefit
I think
that
that's
it's
a
coming
distinction
back
that I'm
from
trying to
that.
make.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in talking about the schools.
If we did not provide them funding, we would need to contract with someone to provide the services. And it's safe to say it would probably cost us more than $21,000. So I'm not quite sure of the comparison that's being made there, because it's not, it certainly isn't a donation.
Okay, I hear you. Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Chair, did I understand you properly that you don't mind that we're the only city that belongs to this collaboration?
I don't know that I said that. I think I said we have to determine, are we getting our money's worth with the $21,000 investment? That's what I think I said. Rick?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm confused yet. We're charged $21,000, and if we need services, we get a reduced bill then? You charge us $18 an hour instead of the 30?
Oh, no,
Or-
it's about
We don't
30.
charge the city at all for any of the work that we do currently now because the city does give the $21,000.
Okay.
We kind of, just to try and give a number for you guys, we averaged out our salaries, salary to around $30 an hour to come up with the $31,000. That's just covering then the cost. We're a nonprofit, so we're not trying to make money, but just to try and cover the cost of what it costs us to provide the service. If you were to have to hire somebody to do the service, or if we didn't have this agreement with the city, non-partnering agencies would be $50 to $65 an hour. Meaning, like if RCW called us and needed our help, because they don't have the city contributing like Wilmer does, we would invoice them at $30 an hour because they're a partner. If somebody outside of our collaborative were to call, then we would charge them at a higher rate because travel and everything else, and they're non-partner.
So if the police department needs an interpreter, you don't bill them?
No, Dave has his own interpreters.
Okay. And if you go to court, does the city attorney, they would use the police?
Or whoever's
Interpreter.
there. Yeah, we don't go to do that.
They don't do court
No,
interpreting.
that's a whole different
The
ballgame.
court, I believe the courts hire their own.
Well, court interpreters have to be certified in order to, and that's a lengthy process and wouldn't be worthwhile for, I don't think, any of your people to do that when
I
there's.
don't know.
Certified,
Some
but they
are.
do all go
Some
through
are.
the ethics training.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is that part of it?
So what exactly does the city need interpreters for then? For notices from City Hall and the utilities?
Building permits, voting, when the voting is taking place.
Okay.
The other thing that comes up is we really need to recruit more election judges, minority ones.
So example would be people come into the office with, like Charlie was saying, some type of a bill or some type of a letter or something, and they're new to the community and don't understand it. Charlie, kind of at the beginning, Charlie was talking about the Welcome Center. We kind of become that Welcome Center along with WHAM, because people within the community know that we've helped them. Our staff has referred them to the office, saying that we can help them connect to resources and stuff like that.
So do you have an estimate how many times you had to use interpreters for city use other than the police department because they have their own?
Right, I came up with about two separate ones, 250 hours of written translations and 100 hours of face-to-face oral translations, just in that alone. Now, that doesn't cover
Prep time, research and stuff to be able to.
anything
answer
else.
questions
Yep.
and those types of things.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Just so you're aware, we're going to take this as information tonight, and then the council will be talking about the funding levels for everything as we move forward. So if we have additional questions, we know where to go. One more question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to play off of Rick's inquiry over there, it would probably be helpful for us if you would give us a detail, as Ms. Nelson asks for them quite often, details. Now, we're giving you $21,000. We don't have a list done here of the hours that you were requested by the city. I assumed it was the police department also, because I know they use many, many, many hours of.
Sometimes it is, but not, you have your own, pretty much.
But again, if we could see the details, so we could make an educated decision on this, 21,000 divided by 300 hours, whatever, $70 an hour, I think that comes out to. So
And
that would be
she's-
very helpful.
So budget.
She's nodding, so I would ask that you get that information to Charlene.
Okay.
Charlie,
Would it be,
sooner rather than later.
question, would it be more fair for both of us if you billed on an hourly basis? I have a feeling from what you've said, we'd be looking at 31,000 instead of 21,000. Is that correct?
Yes.
On average, it would be definitely more than the 21, and on other years, it would probably be even more than that, depending upon what kind of things are happening within the community.
Okay.
Another example was when the trailer courts were being cleaned out and stuff, Charlie went door to door with city staff, explaining to people and families exactly what was happening, why their homes have to be moved. That's an example of the things that our agency helps the city with.
Okay. Thank you, ladies. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Roberto, we're all warmed up for you.
Well, staff, city council, mayor, and I also want to thank the work that the Marketing Coalition, the Wilmer Design Center, everybody I sit on their boards or have sat on their boards, and I think they do a wonderful job for this city. And I guess this is the first year that we come up as a new applicant, and it can't be nothing but positive. It's a good year to ask for money, right? So the work that we do is economic development. We requested $20,000 As a starting point, the work that we do is very visible out there. Our mission is to establish and promote new and culturally diverse businesses among Wilmer area through support and training. I want to explain the relationship with WCIC, which just spoke before me. We are kind of a product of the city of Wilmer and the WCIC. We were a program of theirs together with education and health. We kind of are the child that grew up and graduated. Now we are a 501c3 agency, a standalone agency. The reason I am still under them and considered a staff, and this will be reflective, I think, in the budget, is because I am a staff of one. We do have a consultant. He's under a contract at 0.75 hours. In order for me to be employed, we would have to have a minimum of 2 people working under WAM-BC, the Wilmer Area Business Center. So that's the technical side. They do still assist me, again, because we are a staff of one at our agency, with a lot of the financial and grant writing. Charlie sits on our board. Leslie is more of a on-site staff person. We do write her into grants whenever we can for her time, but they go beyond of what they have to do in our agency. And our plan with what we, for the application was to continue doing what we've already been doing. We have gotten really good at what we do. We've been recognized nationally more than once. We've worked with states like Oregon. We've worked around Minnesota and cities similar to us, experiencing the same changes in diversity and demographics. We run 3 programs out of our agency. One is a microloan program that is fairly new. We do technical assistance, which is consulting, business consulting, and we do loans, and we do incubation. That is in our in-house, in our building. Currently, we have a construction company and a restaurant. In the last 16 months, our impact has been, we've done workforce development through the business expansions and loan program. Of 16 months, we've created 50 full-time jobs with benefits. We've created 13 new businesses. We've graduated 10 participants with food managers certificates, Minnesota licenses, and we've lent out $40,000. 20 of that has been repaid in less than a year. So, and this is working with people that have no credit history or very little credit history, so high risks. I'm here just to kind of share that with you. There's a lot of other things that we do, just like Charlie said. We put out fires when we have to. We act as a welcome center at times. This morning I had, our day is never the same. This morning I had a 5-year resident from Chile. Her husband works at a local company here, corporation, and she's trying to legally work, and she didn't know where else to go. She went to 2 other agencies, and they all referred her to us. We have true collaboration with the Chamber of Commerce, with the Economic Development Center or Commission, with the City of Wilmer whenever you guys call. So we're going to continue to do what we do as long as we can. But it is, the dollars that we are requesting is just for local support in order to leverage other funding. I mean, that is the key source of what we're asking. So I open it for questions.
Okay, thanks for being here. Can you mention any of the businesses that you have helped that are now successful that contributed to these 50 full-time employees? I mean, that's a big number.
That is a big number. We didn't think we were going to be able to do it. 4 years ago now, we got our first federal grant, and with $40,000 in loans, we were supposed to create, Jeff, how many? 18? 13 full-time jobs. And if it wasn't for that man back there helping me in the office, I don't know if I would have been able to do it. To answer your question, our biggest contributor to that has been agriculture construction. They were just in the paper, I think, last week, Diamond Builders. And that is kind of a picture of what can be done with diversity as an asset. They had the drive, the want. Dolores, I think, mentioned, she's one of the owners, that she grew up in Wilmer. This is her home. She's not going anywhere. All of their jobs right now are in North Dakota and South Dakota, I think, and other places, but they want to stay local. They've created, Jeff? 27 out of 27 jobs. We've directed them so they can actually give their employees benefits, health benefits. With this exchange that's coming, we bring in-house, now we're working with OSHA, we're bringing in OSHA. We do what we can to kind of get these guys running. The part that we don't talk about is the civic engagement part. You know, we teach them how to get engaged in their community and give back, not only to their employees, but also become a contributing member to this community in the form of ownership. My biggest pet peeve when I moved back to Wilmer is talking to people that have been operating a business for 17 plus years, and you ask them where you're from, and they don't ever say Wilmer. There is no ownership. Little by little, I think we've created that ownership. Therefore, we're creating good neighbors, you know, good citizens of this community, just because they're engaging at whatever level, you know, donating to the YMCA, partaking in the parades, whatever they want to do, donating to the schools, we encourage them. And robots won't be able to do that. We create relationships. I think Charlie didn't speak about that, but you have to put a value on the relationships that we've created, true relationships, where we put out fires, you know? So I hope I
Okay.
answered your question.
Questions from the committee or the council? Rick?
Thanks, Roberto. Charlie said you were going to talk about Centerpoint. What,
We were not on vacation. So another big partner for us is local banks. We try to work as much as we can with local banks for business purposes, but also they know that they can call us. They can pick up the phone and call. We've trained some of their staff, and we got a call, and we said, this is happening. I said, yep, I know it's happening. We wait for the Somali population to come to us. It's an open door policy. They do a lot of stuff within their communities, but they did. They were referred to us, and they contacted us, and we're working with lease agreements. So reviewing lease agreements with them to relocate them. The ones that we're working with right now are going to probably relocate in downtown, and that's all we're doing. They're trying to work something out to where they're going to operate a building that's available, and for them to be able to afford it, they're going to sublease it to some of the tenants that were in the same location. And then that party, it's a relationship thing again, because now they feel comfortable working with us, and they had no clue that we could assist them with all that. They had already signed the lease. Now they're referring the other tenants that are there that are going through different situations. So, but go ahead.
is the EDC helping you too? 'Cause-
Not in this particular situation.
Okay.
And we do partner up with the EDC, such things like when Walmart was relocating, when Target, they wanted to know about signage, about population, things like that. Steve calls us, and we work with them on that. Target needed a diverse workforce. We helped them with that. We've worked with Best Buy. So whenever it's needed, we just located a business in Midwest Campus that was, you know, looking for a location. So we work with it whenever we can. And with our door too, we just introduced last year a business model under our nonprofit. So that means that anybody that walks in there, not only the ethnic community, but anybody that works in there, because we're starting to see more and more in that, we won't turn them away. We'll just charge them a below market rate for our services. Everything from business planning to incorporating to tax purposes, we do all that.
All right, thank you.
Audrey?
Roberto, the financial statements you gave us are from December of 2009, and I noticed there was a recommendation in there for some internal control strengthening. I just wondered if you could address that a little bit. I know it's old, but I don't quite know.
Leslie still here? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll try to answer it, and if I'm wrong, then she can jump in. Because of our budget is under 500,000 as a nonprofit, we're not required to be audited on an annual basis. But for like the federal grant, we had to have a current audit. Actually, we just went through another tedious process with another funding source, and we are working on getting a second audit. The practices and policies are in place because of this audit that happened in 2009. So we've been operating under new policies and practices.
Okay.
Steve?
Question. Thank you for being here, I appreciate it. So if I have this on page 3, it shows salaries of $133,817 is up 62.14% due to you wanting to hire an additional person. But, and right now you're only you're a one-man staff right now?
Yes.
So in 2013, your salary was $83,000, is that correct?
I'm gonna have to refer to her. But I know I don't make that. If not, I would not be here right now.
It's a good job.
If,
Go ahead.
I'm just
do we
curious
have
what
your,
happened with the changes.
So it would be 63? And that would include benefits. And we're under the Southwest, South Central Co-op structure.
Okay. And benefits of 24,000. Yeah, okay, that's all staff. That's a total of,
You might want to repeat that.
yeah, can we get you to come up? You're the numbers person. We need you up here.
She wasn't gonna come.
Yeah. All of that would be all staff salaries and benefits combined together. So one full-time staff, 1.75 contractual, and then due to capacity, due to all the different types of grants and funding sources, there's a very big need to have an assistant over there, because I'm kind of going back and forth between both agencies, and it's just kind of getting out of control.
Benefits are listed on the line below that?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
But it would be a combination of, in 2011, just Robert and Jeff would have been 0.5, 2012 would have been the same, in 2013, Jeff was increased to a 0.75.
Okay, thank you.
Steve, did you have some further questions?
no, that pretty much explains it, other than just the obvious, and maybe you can explain it to me, since this is the first time we looked at your budget here. The state or the federal funding, I see there's nothing from the federal government this year in the funding?
Correct. We had received a grant in 2009 that was a 5-year grant, so that money has all been spent, and we are in the process of closing out that grant and hoping to reapply again,
Okay, so you might get refunded.
hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. And you won't know until after the farm bill's passed, or?
Well, yeah, the grant technically is done in 2015.
Okay.
We got it in September of 2009.
The rules with that, and it's kind of gone back and forth with the federal government, as you guys probably know, that, they don't give you a direct answer a lot of times. They told us that we couldn't reapply until we have completed the grant. We successfully completed the grant, and now it's gonna, I don't know, we have to wait till one more year till we can reapply. But we are one of the few that were very successful. We were the first Latino agency-led agency in the country that received funding from this source.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that earlier. Thank you.
Any other questions? Audrey?
I asked this of the Wilmer Design Center, but if the city contributes to you, what's the advantage to you? Is there a leverage or something? I know you've commented about it, but I'm just curious.
I would pretty much say every funder that we look for RFPs or something like that, a question that they ask is, what kind of support do you get from your city? So if you don't get any support from the city, there's certain grants that you can't even apply for. There's certain dollars that can't be requested for because there's no support.
Okay.
We work with neighboring counties as well, and SBA just called me out of Marshall, and they requested some information and things like that, and I presented back to them that if we had a memorandum of understanding or a partnership, and it's hard for me to say that sometimes because if our own city, if there's no support from our local city, how do I go, and do that for them? And they need services too because there's a big demand, just like how we've seen here in the early stages with Wilmer. So leveraging is key. And sometimes the RFPs, the requests that we go after, won't even look at you if you don't have your city support. So.
Ron?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First year request, $20,000. Where do we go from here? Is this going to be an annual thing again? Is it something else and is it going to grow? You're going to be 2 employees now. Is 2015 going to be a larger request, or what do you anticipate for the future?
I don't know if we would anticipate a larger amount. I think it would be a good start for everything we've done in the past with zero contribution. I think you guys could see the result. If we say we're gonna do something and we complete it efficiently and effectively, then you guys could say, yes, we're willing to contribute to that again, or not at that level, and we would welcome any of those suggestions. But I think what we do is very visible. Look, and you will see. We went from 3 ethnic-owned businesses to over 60. I think in our records, we've touched 54 of those. We've promoted the city well, everywhere we travel. We do a lot of positive, non-tangible things. And when you guys ask for requests, I know when we got the federal monies, $236,000, you guys asked me to come and, how are we spending that money? What are we doing with it? And I actually brought you the paperwork and I showed you the line items. So we're as transparent as can be. And I'm looking forward to continuing to work in this community for the entire community of Wilmer.
We may have another, you can see all the requests we get for money. I mean, there's just 4. There's a list of them here. And every year there's a new one. And it concerns me that so many of these programs start with grants from the federal government or state government, and then they expect the city to pick it up somewhere down the road. It was like the police program a few years ago. It's like me giving you an elephant as a present, and then here all you got to do is feed it. So it concerns me that we keep getting these requests, and I'm always pictured as the guy that's against funding for these budgets and that, and I'm not that person. I'd ask questions just because I want to know details, and I think the citizens that you're speaking to, because they're the people you're asking the request for, need to know and understand what you're about. And, I applaud you again for your efforts, and you've done a whole lot without any requests from the city. You've done a tremendous amount of work and started these businesses, and again, I applaud you for that. But I have to be very careful in considering these, and I think the entire council does. But thank you for doing what you do, both of you, and keep it up.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, I think we'll wrap it up. Like I've told the others, we're not going to make any decisions here tonight. We're going to talk about it. We're going to have a few more meetings. If we have some additional questions, we'll get back to you. I'm hoping that all the questions were answered, but again, thank you. Thank you, both of you.
Thank you.
All right, it looks like our Wilmer Marketing Coalition individual had a commitment that he had to go to. So we're going to have to reschedule Sam Bowen at another time for the Marketing Coalition. That's a $2,000 request that was not funded. So we'll have to talk about that at another time. So unless there's questions on these budget items that we've talked about, I'm going to refer now everything to the Finance Committee, and we will, there was one other thing under the budget that there was a request, and I'm going to call on Councilmember Amon, having to do with archery range, and would like to see some additional funding. Has made a request for that. Would you like to speak to that?
Well, briefly, I did speak at the city council meeting. We had a good meeting with the groups, and I think there's a lot of enthusiasm there. I think eventually, as these items come up, I talked previously about the 2007 report on the quiet zones, and those aren't completed yet. But now we have another request, and this is an ongoing thing. Well, it's good that we have requests for funding, and people want to improve their livability in our community. I'm thinking that we could probably start off slowly with a minimum amount of money to at least establish a collaboration with that group. And my understanding, it would be right now to get things started would be to just earth bermed backing on the area that faces the mall area, so that shooters would be shooting from the east to the west. And there's more than enough room there without disturbing or any ability to hit anyone with a target range out there. But right now, I have contacted the archery club, and they don't have the budget put together as to what they think we might we might need, but if this does come to fruition with the approval of the MPCA, I think for a minimal, just some seed money of $5,000, and it can always be taken out or added to, but at least $5,000 worth of dirt would be a beginning start, or might be something, at least show that we have interest in doing that with the Archery Association.
And I think that's fine. I think we should have a placeholder in the budget, and then it will be subject to the same sorts of discussions that all of these other things were, but it wasn't in the budget. I just want to make sure that we get it added to.
Mr. Anderson? Councilmember Anderson, sorry. I think we're ahead of the game here. I think Mr. Bresendine had sent out another email talking about a different location. There's also a park study going on. In our last meeting, we've been talking about maintenance issues in the park, safety maintenance issues that have not been funded and have not been taken care of. Before we do anything new, I think we have a responsibility to this community to deal with the maintenance, safety issues in our parks. And adding money to do an archery range, I think we aren't even close to knowing whether that's going to come to the top. We've got a pool that's sitting that can't be used. There's a ton of things in that park study. And I think that's the avenue that it should be worked with, is with Community Ed and Rec before it comes before the City Council. And we need to deal with the safety issues in our park first. And I appreciate, I'm not against archery, I'm not against a lot of the other things. I just don't think this is appropriate yet at this time.
And I understand that, and I think that discussion will come forth when the full council talks about it. I just don't want to leave something out that someone has asked that we consider. I hear exactly what you're saying, but I want to let him have his say that he thinks that that's important. We're not advocating, we're not approving, we're just putting it in at this point.
Thank you, and I appreciate your comments, Audrey. I guess the thing is, for all the years I've been on the council, every once in a while we see something that may be kind of fun.
Okay.
I look at this as a community project, and $5,000, if we don't have it in the budget, I'm sure we'll be able to come up with $5,000 somewhere out of our budget.
We've got other requests
Take care of that need.
that it has to stack up against. Bruce, you had a question, and then I think we're going to.
I just comment, we've talked about archery range. Sure, maybe we can all agree that archery range is a good thing to have. But I think we need to look at our park board when we're looking at these items. The list is long. It's not only the archery range that's out there. We've got, there's been discussion about dog park. We've got a wading pool at Rice Park that needs maintenance and repair. We've got a gun range that needs maintenance and repair. There's just a whole list of things out there. And to start adding, an archery range on top of that right now, I don't know if that's a wise thing to do, but.
Okay, and I agree. But again, this is not a discussion about the pros and cons of it. It's just a matter of someone wanted to put some money in the budget. We'll talk about the pros and cons, and it'll flesh itself out.
Is this going to be a separate line item, or why would it not be included under the Community Ed and Rec?
Well, it would go into the proper budget wherever it has to go. We're just talking about a concept. Rick?
Since we're on the archery range, drive by Litchfield, south of Lake Ripley. They just put one in. It's a small one. It's about 75 feet wide by 200. I never noticed it before until yesterday. And it doesn't cost very much to put in. And
we might be able to, depending on what the council does, we might find things, we might decide that it doesn't measure up to some of the other things that we're asking for funding for. So I have just agreed to let the topic be discussed.
Thank you.
All right, now, we're done with the budget. You three, you're certainly welcome to stay, but we've got a little bit of business for the Finance Committee. And I know the mayor has to leave, so we understand that. So now going to the Finance Committee agenda, let's talk about the Airport Capital Fund reappropriation request.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, in your packet, you'll find an executive summary from the planner, airport manager, Megan DeShepper. During the This is a timing issue. In the 2012 action of the council in December, the budget had already been adopted for the airport. There was $44,000 roughly budgeted in under professional services, but the contract with the airport manager, Eric's Aviation, was negotiated, and it was renegotiated, I should say, and came in higher than what was anticipated. Ms. DeShepper's recommendation is to take the $50,000 that is in the 2013 capital project budget for tiling and use that to cover the overages that are anticipated under the professional services line item. They have adjusted their request for 2014, increasing that line item based on those contractual obligations. And the tiling improvements are being reviewed and hopefully can be rescheduled into future capital improvements. So their request is to reappropriate those $50,000 to cover anticipated shortages in the professional services line item in the airport budget.
Does that mean we're approximately $50,000 short on that?
The contracted amount is $76,000, as you see listed in their documentation, and the copy of the resolution of the council adopted. The remaining amount would be other services that the council has approved in regards to Bolton and Mink, in regards to engineering services for overlaying the runway and grass seeding.
Okay. Questions? Audrey?
There's no issue with delaying the tiling that was?
I asked Megan about that this afternoon, and she indicated that there would not be. It's a low area in the southeast quadrant of the airport. There's a building that receives some water, so it would still be a project that they would keep on the list, but would have to do at a later date.
Is that our only option?
There are, I mean, it could be a number of different options. This is their recommendation at this point, I guess. Are you referring to the professional services or
No,
the capital?
No, I'm referring to, is that the only place, I mean, so that the tiling could still be done? Is there another place to go to for the rest of the funds?
I think some of the reason why they're recommending delaying it, it has been somewhat of a dry year, and the need for it this year at this point can be delayed. So she did not indicate to me if that is included in the 14 capital improvements, and I don't remember if it is or not. I'd have to check.
What would we like to do?
Move to approve.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. All right. Here we are, back to the tax forfeited property again.
Mr. Chairman, included in your packet again is the executive summary from City Clerk Halliday. That was in your packet at the last meeting. Also attached is an email from Kevin indicating that we have been in contact with the county. The individuals improving the property are aware of the status that it is state-owned. We checked with the county again this afternoon. They have picked up paperwork to be able to make payment, but no payment has been made at this point. So it would be staff's recommendation that we ask the council to authorize the mayor and administrator to sign the form for the county. The circumstances would be if the individuals would make payment before the county meeting, it would be, they would be able to redeem it. If they didn't, then we would have the authorization in place for the county to proceed.
Okay. We had a number of questions on that property last time. One of the things I thought was the amount due. Weren't we interested in that?
The delinquent taxes are a little over $4,000. The value the county's putting on it is $3,000.
Okay. Questions?
Just explain that why do they put the 3?
I believe the county has indicated that the price of $3,000 is a starting point.
Okay.
You want to move ahead?
So move.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that passes.
What's going on there?
Future meetings, September 23rd will be our regular Finance Committee. We're going to hear about the audit, but September 30th is another budget work session where all council members can be present, and we're going to talk about capital improvements. There was another item.
We should have the information that the council, that the committee requested then on, or we can do this at another time too, professional services.
I
and
think we'll look at
membership
that
and dues, so-
hopefully on the 23rd.
Yeah, okay.
And maybe we'll have Mr. Bowen.
Yeah, and I will contact Mr. Bowen and see
Okay.
if,
And if there's-
and maybe he can even come to the 23rd too, so.
If there's anything specifically that the council wants to talk about on the budget, please let staff know so that we can get it on the agenda. Okay. Old business, 2014 budget, I think we've done enough on that. Any new business? Can we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
We are adjourned. Thank you all.